Hello, everybody, and welcome into a new episode of Prep Rally. It's produced by the Daily Journal and djournal.com, a webcast and a podcast. If you're watching, thanks for tuning in here at djournal.com. I'm your host, Brad Locke, joined to my left here by Blake Morgan and Gene Phelps of the Daily Journal. Here to talk about some more football for the most part, fellas. It's y'all. I've been watching y'all from my cubicle, working away at it, trying to get this football tab put together. That's coming out. When does that come out, Gene?
It will be out, I believe it prints Friday, and it may be out in the paper Sunday, but don't hold me to that. I think we have it out. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, because the season starts next Friday, the 19th.
Yeah, so it's got to be out Sunday.
It better be.
Yeah. Huh? I've lost track of dates, not the days of the week, but dates. And it's hard to believe that football's actually kicking off next Friday night.
It is crazy.
For this guy, next Thursday night. He gets a Thursday night.
We got a couple of Thursday night games. Just one.
One that we know of.
Who's that?
Hamilton at South Panola.
Okay.
And
good deal.
So be a good chance. You know, some people like to pull back and play on Thursday night, and they're the only game in town. And,
yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit. We probably need to go over this, make sure none of these other games are being played on Thursday. Some of the usual suspects, like a Faulkner or somebody likes to play on Thursday.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, before we get into it, I want to remind y'all to follow us on Twitter at djournalpreps, and you can listen to the podcast version of this, which drops later on Wednesdays. Again, it's a podcast and a webcast, but you can access the podcast version in iTunes and your podcast apps like Player.fm, Stitcher, Satchel, and also you can stream it online at preprally.djournal.com. Guys, let's we got some jamborees coming up. Of course, the season starts next week, but this weekend, a lot of teams scrimmaging with these jamborees, play 2 quarters basically against somebody. We talked last week, Blake, about the big Oxford and Starkville jamborees, and you had a story earlier in the week talking about 2 teams in particular getting ready: Oxford, which is hosting a jamboree, and Shannon. Oxford, start with them. They came so close to that state championship last year, inches away. And then Johnny Hill retired, so they got a new coach, Chris Cutcliffe, son of David Cutcliffe, the former Ole Miss coach, now at Duke. But they lost some good players, but expectations, I imagine, are still pretty high over there.
Yeah, I mean, Cutcliffe is ready to hit the ground running. You know, I talked to him about what it's like, preparing his team for his first jamboree and whatnot. He gave me the very typical coach answers is, we just want to see how they do in the live game situation and no injuries.
Yeah.
And so he said, him and his staff, they're not going to be all too worried about the schemes at this point, like with just the jamboree. They just want to see how everyone reacts to playing against someone else.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some big-time players to replace, like Jack Abraham at quarterback, DK Metcalf at receiver. I mean, they have some guys they feel can step in and do pretty well at those kind of spots.
Yeah, I mean, they he didn't have or at least I didn't get like completely too specific. I think they're still trying to
figure that out.
Figure it out. Yeah, and not wanting to put anyone on the spot to bear that burden just yet. But that's what the jamborees are for, is to find the guys that can step up in those situations. To take those spots.
Yeah. And then Shannon spoke with Coach Daryl Carter, and we've talked about his team before here in the recent weeks about their expectations. He's expecting big things this year. And and where are they going to be this weekend?
They are let's say, look at my schedule. They'll be at Davis Wade on Saturday playing Louisville at 3:00.
Okay.
So I'll be there watching them, covering them for that. But yeah, and he talked about it as well. He's real excited to, he said, finally get the guys to hit another team, right? You get kind of tired of just lining up against your friends. You want to go out and play someone else. And he's excited. He thinks his team's ready.
So you're going to be out covering that one.
Yeah.
Gene, where are you going to be this weekend?
I will be. I'm glad you asked that question. Number one, you can tell Blake is not from Mississippi, even though he grew up living close to Mississippi in the Germantown, Memphis area. That's Louisville. Louisville, Mississippi.
We pronounce the S here, for whatever reason.
Not no Louisville.
It's also Lafayette County, even though it probably should be Lafayette County. But
correct. So anyway, but Blake never has to pronounce it except on this show.
Exactly. So, just got to spell it right.
Anyway, I will be Friday night. Tupelo announced this morning that they were changing their jamboree game to Tupelo. I never got a reason from Trenton Hammond other than I was trying to get a confirmation. I imagine it has everything to do with the fact that it's supposed to rain Friday and the fact that Tupelo has artificial turf, which will not affect that rain. The only thing then that will affect that scrimmage or any scrimmage Friday will be lightning.
Right. And it was supposed to be at Itawamba originally.
It was going to be at Itawamba AHS. They've been alternating, and I imagine just because of the rain factor and the turf factor, that is why that was changed. Saturday, I'll be out hopefully trying to get some softball in. Blake is going to be down in Starkville.
That started softball, and we're going to talk softball later in the program a little bit. But,
and Blake's going to. Did we mention you're going to Friday? South Pontock's got a big jamboree, and we've got Baldwin playing Nettleton, which I think is a very interesting matchup. Baldwin's supposed to be really good this year. Michael Gray's team should be a contender in the North in 2A, and Nettleton's got Ken Tops, former Shannon star, Murray State star, quarterback, taking over from Mike Scott. I just thought it was a good localized matchup for a jamboree.
Oh yeah, certainly, that's a good one. So let's go switch gears a little bit and talk about Monterio Hunt. You had a story in the paper on him today, Blake, the really good athlete from Walnut. He's a senior, missed pretty much all of his junior campaign after breaking his leg in the season opener last year. He didn't make it through the first game before he got hurt and had a long road back. And as you mentioned in the story, it was not an easy road back, obviously, from that kind of injury. But he managed to tough it out. But he was pretty down for a while, wasn't he?
He got down, and I didn't put it in the story, but I talked to the coach, and he said, "Man, it was hard watching Hunt go through it, right? Just because he would." I mean, and with any athlete, especially someone that's so good at what they do, to all of a sudden not be able to, walk because of a broken leg, that'll mess with you, right? Especially when you're 17 years old. Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of write about that and write about him persevering, and it's what he said was the first game was it's what pushed him through, is playing Boonville again and getting back out there and picking up where he left off last season.
Yeah, they opened against Boonville. Is that going to be at Walnut? I'm trying to remember, because was the last is that Boonville?
Here we got the first week schedules right here.
Okay, so last
year, at Boonville.
Okay, so it'll be at Boonville, and like you said, he's looking forward to this game. He doesn't seem to have, a lot of guys when they come back from a leg injury may be a little bit hesitant, but he didn't seem to have any trepidation.
No, not at all. I talked to him and the coach, and the coach was saying through the summer practices, I mean, he's been surprised with how little he can even tell that there hasn't been any hesitation from him. And of course, when I talked to him, they hadn't started hitting yet in practice.
True.
So
it's a different ball game there.
Yeah, right. So it's really easy not to be too scared when there's no threat of being hit, but I mean, from what he's saying, from what everyone's saying out of Walnut, is that he is fired up and ready to go without much hesitation. The only difference is he's the coach said is now he just tapes up his leg.
Okay. And he is an MSU commit, and you mentioned this in the story that he had a good sophomore year, accounted for like 19 touchdowns. Yeah, MSU gave him an offer. He committed. He breaks his leg. He's like, oh gosh, they're probably going to pull the offer now, but they didn't. And so because of that, he says, quote, he's 110% committed.
110%, yeah, because I think he has a visit scheduled to Alabama or something, and he has offers from a few other schools, and he went to a couple of camps up in Memphis. And so, I just wanted, how does it feel? How do you feel with the connection with Mississippi State? And, he talked about how he 110% committed. He said that they, kept the offer with him, even though he broke his leg, and that meant the world to him.
Not every school might do that.
Yeah, no, right. And that meant so much to him that he had to commit. And, as for the visits and stuff, we didn't get into that. But, I mean, I wouldn't turn down a free visit to go see an Alabama
these
game.
Kids need to take their visits.
Yeah, no, if you get 5, I would take all 5 anywhere. So
no doubt,
why not?
No doubt. That's a good story you had there in today's journal. You can read it in today's journal or at djournal.com. Good story by Blake. Gene, we had some coaching news in the past few days come out of Batesville. Lance Pogue announcing this will be his final season at the helm of South Panola, the 6A powerhouse. That he's won, I think, 5 state titles, and of course he succeeded Ricky Woods, who had really established that program as one of the best in the country. And Lance really has pretty much just kept it that way. I mean, he's lost a few games here and there. They had that long streak when Ricky Woods was coach, the state record streak of, what was it, 50-something games, I guess, or more. But, I mean, Lance Pogue has done an excellent job. And
he has, and he's really a class act.
Yeah.
Lance, right off the top of the head, I don't know how many years he's been there, but he's had a successful run. I saw where he's just 47 years old. Also noticed that he said he may not be the end of his coaching, but it will be at South Panola.
Right.
Sometimes it's the right time to leave.
Yeah.
We don't know the background story, and it may just be simply just feels like that. I can go on and do something else. I don't know how many years he's got in the state.
Yeah.
And he may be getting ready to retire and go out of state and coach, or maybe go to a private school and coach. But I think there's some coaching still left in Lance.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes it's just the right time to pack up and go. Sometimes you can wear out your welcome. People.
Well, they did lose in the first round last year, didn't they? Which is very rare.
Right.
They lost a really close, low-scoring game.
High expectations there. Maybe the well's running dry. Who knows? I mean, I do know that I'm sure all the administration that was there when he was hired has since left and gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are a number of factors that figure in there. I do know his son was playing. I don't know if he's got another year, if he finished up last year. A year before, I do know his son was a quarterback, and a good one.
Yeah.
Solid. Coach's kid.
Yeah.
Coach's kids usually make good quarterbacks. And but wish him well. As John Pitts, our sports editor, said, well, they just go ahead and lock that up for South Panola then, because they're going to be winning it for the Gipper.
Win one for Coach. Well, I think it was Starkville that won the title last year in 6A, Jamie Mitchell. So they have to deal with him,
right?
And that squad to get to the state title.
Well,
game.
no, Jamie's not there anymore.
That's right. Jamie left.
Yes,
he's at.
That was Ricky Woods.
No, it's Ricky Woods. Woods. I'm sorry, not Jamie Mitchell.
Jamie's in Little Rock.
Yeah, so Ricky Woods. Go through your old coach to win one for your new the current coach.
There you go.
So, yeah. Jamie's in Little Rock. I can keep track, Gene. I don't cover the beat anymore.
There you go.
But anyway, so Lance Pogue, he's going to be done after this year at South Panola. A little softball news, Gene. You had a story earlier this week talking about these new softball bats. What's the deal?
The whole idea is to make the bats, to make the game safer. And in slow pitch, everybody gets a hit for the most part, and they're using these higher pressurized bats. Morville hit 97 home runs last year in 26 games. So you do the math.
Yeah.
About 4 games, 3 games, and Perry Wilburn, Morville's coach, firmly believes that they'll hit fewer than 50 this year.
Yeah. So we won't have as many 30 to 25 games.
And no, yeah, right. That'll help us out here on the inside, taking these crazy scores that come in.
Yeah.
But you're going to see a lot more base hits. And actually, the High School Activities Association was testing bats when they had their District 1 meeting up here. And they went to every district in the state with their preseason meeting, and they brought the bat pressurizer gauge machine. Ricky Neves, the associate director of the High School Activities, was in charge of doing that. Talked with him the other day, too, and he says he's enjoyed it. Not just kidding. But anyway, he said it's all about making the game safer.
Yeah, because, especially some of these girls like at Morville, Blake, I would not want to play third base.
Blake was there that night, too, and they kicked out some $300 bats, brand new $300 bats, because they had to bring the school had to bring all their bats, and then the kids a lot of times will buy their own bats. Yeah. And so they had to bring those bats, and I believe they took the paper off one and tested it and threw it out. And somebody's like, my mom paid $300 for that bat. Well, have you got the receipt? But anyway, it's all about making the game safer.
Yeah, okay. Well, despite that, Morville maybe won't hit as many home runs, but slow pitch season getting underway, they're always a contender.
Morville, Nettleton is always a good series, and one of those 2 teams will probably go back down to Richland and compete for a championship.
3A. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Good stuff. You can find Gene's story at djournal.com. That ran earlier in the week as well in the Journal.
Let me say one word. That football section coming out this weekend, we'll have preseason rankings. We'll have some players to watch, and of course we'll have previews on 50 schools.
Yeah. So that's coming this
And
Sunday.
schedule-
Check your daily
right,
journal.
Right.
Okay, good deal. And good work y'all are doing on that as well. All right, that's it for this edition of Prep Rally. Again, it's a webcast and a podcast. If you missed any of the webcast, want to watch the replay, check it here at djournal.com. If you just want to listen to the podcast, again, you can listen to that for free in iTunes, your podcast apps, or at preprally.djournal.com. Give us a follow on Twitter at djournalpreps. For Gene Phelps and Blake Morgan, I'm Brad Locke. Y'all have a great rest of the week.